Welcome to Research Talk. We are in the process of learning how to write phenomenological research. If you remember, in our previous video, we talked about heuristic writing. In heuristic draft writing, we discussed how to instill wonder in your readers. So you start with the central phenomenological question that you want to explore, and then you start as a ground to instill wonder in your audience, in your reader. So that's heuristic writing. Now, after heuristic writing, what we move to, we call it experiential writing. What is experiential draft writing? You remember when we were discussing about how to develop your interview protocol for phenomenological interview. And in that, we talked about how to ask questions that help you get more anecdotal data. Now, anecdotal data helps you to get to how that experience was lived rather than how that experience was conceptualized. And that's why there is a huge emphasis when it comes to collecting data in phenomenological on anecdotal data. So what you do when you write your draft, you focus on writing experiential draft, meaning that you use the anecdotal data that you have collected to write a draft. And when you write this draft, you focus on providing a vivid description of that anecdote that you have collected. You also try to be more detailed oriented and concrete description as well when you are writing this draft, experiential draft. So let's look at one example to understand how this draft looks like. Let's say you are interested in understanding the experience of a first-year teacher in the classroom, a person who has recently completed their training program as a teacher and start their journey of a teacher in a school setting. So let's say you have collected the data from this person, and now you are writing the second draft, which is experiential draft. So this first year teachers that you have interviewed, let's say this person is adjusting to their roles in the classroom. So in your experiential draft writing, you could focus on, as I said previously, on vivid, concrete moments that represent their experience rather than abstract description of challenges. So an example could be, you can write like, as the bell rang, Sarah stood in front of her classroom, feeling weight of 25 pairs of eyes fixed on her. She clutched the lesson plan in her hand, but her voice faltered as she introduced the day's topic. The room felt different than it had during her teacher training, colder, less forgiving. The noise from the hallway filtered in, a constant distraction. One student at the back shuffled restlessly, and for a moment, Sarah wondered if she was losing control of the room. Her palm felt clammy, and the words she had rehearsed seemed to scatter like loose papers in the wind. In that moment, teaching was no longer about theory, it was about surviving the next 45 minutes. So this type of writing brings the reader into the experience of the teacher in that moment. The concrete details, the vivid description of that experience. And that is what the purpose of an experiential draft writing is in phenomenology. Let's take another example. Let's say You are trying to understand the experience of a doctoral student defending their dissertation. And let's say you collected data, and now you have a very vivid anecdotal data from this student. Now, you can write a description which is, as the doctoral candidate sat at the front of the room, the soft hum of the projector echoed in her ears. She could feel her heart pounding, each beat reverberating in her chest as she glanced at the panel of the professors before her. The air felt thick with anticipation as she waited for the first question. Her mouth was dry, and when she spoke, her voice cracked slightly, a reminder of the nerves she had tried to calm all morning. The presentation slides blurred momentarily as she adjusted her glasses. Each question from the panel felt like a test, not only for her research, but of her identity as a scholar. Her fingers clutched the edge of the podium, grounding her in the room as she navigated the complex dance between defending her ideas and acknowledging her uncertainty. Now, this example captures the tension and emotional experience of a doctoral defense meeting. So you see that in both the examples that I provided here, what was there, a vivid description of the phenomenon, a very concrete description of the phenomenon, not phenomenon, but that anecdotal experience that the researcher has collected in their data. So you start with heuristic writing, which is like initially starting with the central question that you want to explore, in writing it in a way to instill wonder and curiosity. And then you move to the experiential writing, which include providing a vivid and concrete description, anecdotal description of the phenomenon. So that is the second writing that one needs to practice when you learn phenomenological writing style. In the next video, I'm going to talk about third type of draft that you need to practice, which is thematic writing draft. I'll see you in next video, and we'll go in deeper about how that draft looks like. Till then, thank you very much. I'll see you again.